Okay. Good afternoon to all. Good afternoon to all.
Good afternoon, sir.
Indira Gandhi National Open University. On behalf of SRR Government Degree College, conducting the MA Psychology first year online theory counseling session. Actually, we have planned offline theory counseling sessions, but due to some request from the students, we are planned for the online counseling sessions. Already we have sent previous videos, recorded videos, YouTube links 2 days back to all the learners. So first year we have 83 learners for MA Psychology first year. So we have already sent paper 1 to 6 theory papers to video link previously conducted sessions. Based on that, we are planned for the MPC 1 to 6 for 1 week, and MPC 006 paper is offline face-to-face mode because it is a statistics paper. So most of them the candidates asked for us to conduct the face-to-face. Because of that, we are planned for the face-to-face mode. That will be conducted at SRR and CVR Government Degree College, where your study center has been allotted. So your study, all the MA Psychology student study center is SRR and CVR Government Degree College, Machavaram, Vijayawada. So your study center is Machavaram, and you have to submit your assignments at SRR College. And practical sessions we are planning to conduct in the month of March or April. During the and after the theory sessions, we send the communication to all the learners regarding practical sessions. So we plan for the conduct practicals for 3 days. Stay in for 3 days. You are not eligible to attend the practical examination. You are not allowed to write the practical examination. These are the conditions. And today we planned for the MPC 005 research methodology paper. For that, we have invited Dr. B. Sangeeta ma'am, Professor, Department of Psychology, Geetham University, Visakhapatnam. So, Madam will take the session 2 to 5. In between 3:30 to 3:45, 15 minutes we have break. After that, again we will continue up to 5 o'clock. So this is the information from my side, and remaining all things, if you have any doubts or queries, please write to RC Vijayawada mail ID. Our team will clarify your doubts. So this is from my side. So thank you, ma'am, Dr. Sangeeta ma'am, for accepting our invitation and taking this session. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Always a pleasure to accept your invitation, sir. Thank you so much for inviting me again. So I'm just setting my alarm for 1.5 hours lecture. Hello, everyone. And yes, yeah, thank you, Prasad, sir, for the introduction. Right. I hope I am audible to everyone. And this is one paper that is extremely interesting and also crucial for all the learners to understand, because whole of psychology, at least the applied psychology part, is dependent on a lot of research that has been carried out. For instance, you do a paper on lifespan development. If you see lifespan development, all of what we study is in terms of research that has been carried out from birth to the last stage of life, even before birth, the neonatal stage, right? So there is a lot of significant role that research plays in the field of psychology. So for that reason and many more reasons, how are researchers able to come up with these conclusions, right? And what they have said, is it definitive, and can we not oppose or negate their findings? Lot many questions come in our mind. So there are different ways in which research is carried out. And if you go and take a look at your IGNOU material, you will see, first I will go into the material and the outline of the chapter that they have given. So it is divided into 4 blocks, and block 1 talks about introduction to research methods. Block 2 talks about types of research. Block 3 talks about research design, and block 4 talks about qualitative research in psychology. Now, let us just take a brief look at what other topics are there in these broad topics that have been delineated. When we go to block 1, introduction to research methods, first unit talks about basic process or concepts in research. Second topic is about reliability and validity. Third is about variables and constructs. Fourth is about hypothesis formulation and sampling. Now, coming to block 2, under the broad category of types of research, we learn about survey research as unit 1, ex post facto research as unit 2, experimental research as unit 3, and case study method as research under unit 4. Now, moving on to block 3, which is titled research design. Unit 1 deals with single factor design. Unit 2 deals with factorial design. Unit 3 deals with quasi experimental design. And Unit 4 deals with other designs, which are correlational and comparative designs. Now, the final block, which talks about the qualitative research in psychology, under that we have introduction that talks about ethnography, which is Unit 1. Then Unit 2 is about grounded theory. Unit 3 is about discourse analysis. Unit 4 is about reporting and evaluating in qualitative research. So, all these may sound to be a little confusing to you. I would spend these close to 2.5 hours on trying to explain to you in brief, because I am going to act only as a facilitator, and this class is not going to be a regular class that the other students do in regular mode. Here we are giving you an overview, we are giving you a taste of all these concepts which you carry with you, and then you study the material and then enhance your understanding of those particular topics. So in rather I mean before we dive deep into what research methodology is all about according to your material, IGNOU material, I would just take some time, significant amount of time, to introduce you to the concept of research, why research is done. Okay, and I will share. So yeah, I have the sharing. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
madam.
Okay, right. So, yeah, like I said, this is introduction to research, or we call it research methodology. I would first want to ask, what is your understanding about research? I would want the class to be a bit interactive. What is your understanding of research? I see there are 23 participants, exclude me and Prasad sir and RC Vijayawada. There are 20 students. Anybody in the chat box? Yes?
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Sandhya.
Yeah.
So, as far as my understanding about research is, every time um, when we want to know about something, we first start with the research.
Okay. So the answer is there in the word itself. You are searching. How are you searching? You are researching. Okay.
So we
You,
go back to the
yeah,
previous persons who
right.
has
You
done.
are searching for something that has been already done or for something that is not being done. Okay. So it is a quest. So someone has found something. Like for example, we all belong to these Telugu families, right? So curd rice is very, we could say, a staple diet in our households. But some eat curd, okay? And consuming curd in the night is not considered good for health. A certain research has stated this. Okay, one day you read that in the newspaper. Another day you read just the contrary. రోజుకి ఒక కప్పు పెరుగు తీసుకుంటే ఆరోగ్యం మెరుగ్గా ఉంటుంది. So as a reader, what are you, I mean, aren't you confused? Right? So what I'm trying to say with this example is research is something that either establishes or refutes an already established fact. Okay? So, if we knew what we were doing, it wouldn't be called research, would it? So, that is Einstein's quote. Now, just look at this particular slide. What do you understand from this? How are they coming up with these titles? Children with diabetes tell their stories, treating cancer with Ayurveda, right? So, Dr. Van Ormer writes on study before sleep. Survey shows weaknesses in sex education module. Our youth clueless about sex, generacy. So adolescents clueless about something. Youth making bad choices, right? Parents should educate kids. So all this is news that is arrived at after understanding or taking stock of a few things that are occurring in our day to day life or in our society or in our community. So, from where can you get a research idea? So, what have I pasted all over here? These are newspaper articles. Okay. So, we read a certain clipping in the newspaper and that triggers a thought in our mind and we want to take that thought further. We want to understand how it operates or how it exists or how it is the cause of the effect that we are seeing, right? So how do you view research? So now I want you all to come up with 20 words to convey your view of research. What is research? What is research?
So, ma'am, finding anything new or applying some new technique to the old wisdom or knowledge leads
Right.
to research.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ మ్యామ్.
Good afternoon.
ఆల్రెడీ ఏదైనా రీసెర్చ్ చేసినప్పుడు ఒక ప్రోడక్ట్ కానీ దేని గురించి అయినా రీసెర్చ్ చేసినప్పుడు అది మనం సాటిస్ఫై అవ్వకపోతే దానిలో ఇంకా కొంచెం బెటర్మెంట్ చేయాలి అని చెప్పి దాని గురించి కూడా కొంచెం రీసెర్చ్ చేసి దాంట్లో బెటర్మెంట్ కూడా తీసుకొస్తారు కదా మ్యామ్, అది కూడా.
So that is your product is not doing well. So what can you do on the product for that to become a hit with the market?
Yes,
Right? Very
yes,
good.
ma'am.
Anything else? What is research? So there is some kind of a theory. You want to prove that theory in your setting as well. Okay, you believe in something. You just want to test that. Okay, so but now we are at a stage where a lot of research has been done everywhere about almost everything. Okay, can you come up with any new topic where research is still up and coming? Any area where research is still up and coming? When we are talking about psychology, which field is considered relatively new? Any guess?
అబౌట్ క్యాన్సర్ పేషెంట్స్ క్యాన్సర్ ఇప్పుడు అన్ని దాంట్లో ఇంప్రూవ్
Perfect.
అవుతుంది కదా
So you know what that area is called? You know what that area is called? It is called psycho-oncology. Okay, psycho-oncology. Oncology is related to cancer and its treatment, and during the entire process, right from the detection of cancer to the curation of cancer and the person becoming a cancer survivor, there is a lot of things that goes on within the cancer patient as well as the caregivers that are surrounding the cancer patient. So you see things like social support, things like locus of control, things like resilience, hope. All these aspects are studied when these patients are at different stages of their cancer. I hope you understand that cancer occurs in different stages, stage 1 to stage 4, 4 being the final stage, right? But thanks to the advancement in medicine, now people who are even in 4th stage of cancer are able to survive the disease, right? So their success stories, their fight, their resilience, there is a lot of research that is being done in that area. Now, detection of cancer can spoil the quality of life of the patient. It can spoil the quality of life of the caregivers, right? So you go out and conduct a research. One of my students has done her master's dissertation on locus of control, social support, and quality of life of breast cancer patients. So before diving deep into the theory part of this paper, I'm just trying to give you a practical example, right? So what are the variables that have been studied? Locus of control, social support, and quality of life. Now, locus of control, what do you understand by that? So this is a psychological variable which says the individual has the control within himself. Okay, locus of control is actually where is the central point of control. Two types are there: internal locus of control and external locus of control. So what is this internal locus of control? I have the ability to control whatever happens with me. I have the ability to control the outcomes of my condition, right? And then what is external locus of control? Whatever happens with me, I have no control. It is my doctor who has to take care of me, or it is the external circumstances that will decide my fate or condition. Okay, so with this kind of an outlook, right? And then the social support. No, there is a formal definition for social support, but as layperson, we can understand social support meaning the kind of support that is available to the patient. Okay. Now, these two variables have an impact or have a relationship with the quality of life. Now, what do we understand by the variable quality of life? Everything is fine, everything is going on smooth, you are happy, you are enjoying a good quality of life. But diagnosis of a disease will disturb you mentally and physically. So you will be going through a poor quality of life. Not just you, people who are very closely associated with you or your family members will be experiencing poor quality of life because they are your caregivers. Okay. So here the example is there are two independent variables: locus of control, how does it affect the quality of life, which is the dependent variable, and then we have social support, another independent variable, how does it affect the quality of life? Okay, so this is the research that the girl has chosen. And when people had high locus of control, in the sense high internal locus of control, they were able to fight the disease very, very strongly. But those people who were low on locus of control, in the sense they had high external locus of control, they were heavily dependent on their family members or external factors like the doctor, and sometimes they would say, this is my karma and that is why I am diagnosed with this kind of a terminal illness. Okay, so for people who see only hope and positivity, the quality of life will be better. For people who are pessimistic and who rely heavily on other support systems, for them life appears to be bleak, and then that results in poor quality of life. So this is how we come up with a research topic, we delve deep into it. This is purely a quantitative study that my student has conducted. So again, I may be going here and there and everywhere, but at the end of the class, I will tie up everything for you so that you understand what I'm talking. Right? So now I'm talking to you all about a quantitative study, and quantitative study is more dealing with numbers, numbers, and numbers. Okay, so what is qualitative, you may be wondering then. Qualitative, in quantitative, how did we get the data? There is a standardized questionnaire called Health Related Quality of Life. So my student took this quality of life questionnaire, she took the locus of control questionnaire, and she also took the perceived social support questionnaire. She met with these breast cancer patients. She administered the questionnaire to them. She gathered the data and then ran the entire data through SPSS software. So everything is in numbers. And whenever we get any significant results, we say, yes, there is a positive correlation between the variables that are considered. Okay, so this is just an example. So research is about proving the pet theory that already exists, and it is something done by academics or experts that is about establishing the facts, and it is objective. Time and again in psychology or any of the social sciences, you will be hearing the word objective and subjective. I hope you understand the meaning, but for the benefit of those who do not understand, I will just take a little bit of time to explain. Subjective is purely my opinion, and objective is something that I take my opinion out of it and give a very neutral opinion, right? So there is no bias that plays in anything that is objective, right? And then research is about justifying what your yes.
Ma'am, can you just again tell objective?
Objective is, first let me explain subjective. The opposite would be objective. Okay. Subjective is what? I like this person, or I will say a class, take a class. I like that class a lot. Okay. And I like this specific person. There is no hard and fast rule that my colleague also likes the same class. I am giving my opinion about that class. So that becomes very objective or subjective?
Subjective.
Subjective, right. So what is objective? I remove the I component. I am not talking about my choice, my preference, my likes. Okay. So we talk things in terms of generic in nature. We should be unbiased. Okay, so when we are talking about quantitative research and qualitative research, there are the naysayers about qualitative which say qualitative research is highly subjective. We say qualitative research is highly subjective because it is majorly through the lens of the researcher. In quantitative, you're also doing research and the researcher is actively engaged in that, but you cannot put your opinion there because the numbers speak over there. Okay, so the numbers will decide whether there is a cause and effect relationship between two people or no. Whereas in qualitative, in quant, you go take the questionnaire, give the questionnaire to the sample, get their responses, and then calculate the scores, and then you arrive at the final result. Whereas in qualitative, mostly it is done through interviews. So you see that the researcher has little role to play to give in his opinion initially, but when he is interpreting, his view about the problem comes to the fore. So that is why wherever our portion of interpretation or contribution comes too much, it is subjective. And why should it be objective? We are calling psychology as a science. And how does it qualify as a science? It relies heavily on empirical observation. What is empirical evidence or empirical observation? You are seeing the change, you are observing it, and you are able to measure it, you are able to quantify it. Okay? There is no element of bias that is involved in it. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So is about justifying what your funder wants to do. What is this funder? So there are many research organizations that announce projects where academicians or avid researchers can apply to, and they will get a grant, and with the help of the grant they will be able to conduct a research on the topic they have applied for to the research agency. So ICSSR is one such body which offers projects and grants to interested candidates. It's not interested candidates, it is a highly competitive basis. You apply whenever there is a call for project, and if at all your project is worthy of research, if they find, then they will shortlist you, call you for an interview, and then ultimately sanction the project if they find everything is viable. Okay, so in order to carry out your research, you're getting money from the ICSSR, and you can carry out the research. So can prove anything you want, right? So another example I can give you here is, we are all using too much of social media. And for elderly people, it is okay. They are in control of things. But for youngsters, social media can be a terrible impact, right? And social media also brings the adolescents very close to films and models and heroines and stuff like that. So the role of the impact of social media on the body image satisfaction of adolescents, that can be one topic, right? So again, you can take up a standardized questionnaire on body image satisfaction and give it to your sample. Who is going to be your sample? Adolescent group. Okay, and then depending on the scores and the results that you get out of the analysis, you can prove that yes, social media has a very, very huge impact on the body image of the adolescent children. Okay, and then research is time consuming. Research need not be time consuming if we are doing cross sectional. So again, when we talk about types of research, we discuss majorly about three types. One is the cross-sectional research, another is the longitudinal research, and the third one is the sequential design. What is cross-sectional? For instance, I asked you, I just now shared this topic, the impact of social media on the body image satisfaction of adolescents. Now, how do I understand that? I don't have to keep on gathering information for 1 year, 2 years on this particular topic. I give the questionnaires, I get the result, I get them back, and I can analyze. So, when you are carrying out a research within a stipulated period of time, that becomes cross-sectional research. And what is longitudinal? You want to see the parent-child relationships, the quality of interaction between the parent and the child, and how the child evolves to be in terms of personality. Okay, so how many elements are included? You want to see the parent-child interaction, how the child will evolve to be in terms of personality. If you all remember going through or studying Erickson's stages of psychosocial development, you will see it starts from the birth and goes on till our last stage, right? So at every stage, depending on the interaction we have with the people around us, we are either going through in a positive direction or staying put in a negative state of mind. So how do we come across all these things? So something that starts off at birth and goes on till death. Some researchers are studying an element like that. Probably the researcher himself might die in between. So that would be carried out by his coterie of other researchers. So these are longitudinal studies. Any study that goes on beyond 6 months of time or 6 months and above can be categorized as longitudinal studies. Why 6 months? You may think, what major change can you see in 6 months? For example, if this is something to do with a TB patient, okay, and you administer the medication, you are confident of seeing significant changes in the patient after 6 months. Okay, and you cannot definitely call this 6-month period of waiting and testing as cross-sectional. Okay, so probably that is the reason why sometimes they feel research is time consuming. Again, there are different models in which research can be carried out. You have this experimental and control groups. You want to see the efficacy of a medicine. What will you do? How will you know whether it is efficient or not? So you will give this medicine to, you will take around 60 people, you will divide them into 2 groups. One group is called the experimental group and the other group is called the control group. Now you will give the medicine to the experimental group and you will give a placebo to the control group. You will make note of who all are there in the experimental group and who all are there in the control group. Now, what is a placebo? Placebo is a sugar-coated pill. When you are conducting an experimental design kind of a research, you will not be letting the cat out of the bag to the control group people. Okay, so everybody is getting the medicine. That is the message that is sent. And then you will start observing the results that the medicine brings about. Okay, so this is the experimental group and the control group. This also involves a lot of time. You need to get 60 people. Both the groups should be matching almost equally in terms of the parameters that you have considered to recruit them into your group. Okay, so it is not a fleeting statement to say research is time consuming. It definitely is time consuming. Okay, now I told you about a topic where my student conducted research on breast cancer patients. So for every research, when we are conducting, we need to see what are the inclusion criteria and what are the exclusion criteria. Who is qualified to be a part of our study, who is not qualified to be a part of study. Okay, so research is scientific and research is removed from reality and cannot change anything. Next. So here are 10 things that we didn't know about research. Research is very time consuming. We have discussed that just now. Research is subjective. Like we show the world our interpretation. This is quite possible in qualitative research and less so possible in quantitative research. However, when you are reporting your results, you get a chance to discuss your results. You can also put in your point, whether you agree or disagree with the findings that you have come up with. So research is often boring but can also be fun. It can take over your life and can be much more interesting than its results. Is about being nosy because you're probing into the lives of others. Research can be done in many ways. Yes, it uses everyday skills and gets into your dreams. For instance, if someone is doing a PhD, now how many people are needed to collect our data? That is a huge question that most of us have. So your sample size, we call, like I said, adolescents. Can we quantify adolescents? Can we give them a number? They are an infinite population or a finite population. So if the population you want to study, you cannot touch base with all of them, what will you do? You will take a smaller segment of your population, and the smaller segment is called sample. Okay, now this sample needs to be representative of the entire population. What do we mean by representative? Anything that holds good for an adolescent in your sample should hold good for an adolescent in the population also. Okay, so how can we come up with something that is representative? So you need to have a large sample size in order to make it representative. How can we get this large sample size? How do we decide on the number? Is 200 large? Is 600 large? Or 1000 large? If you have done your 16 PF questionnaire and if you have gone through your manual and the booklet that is given, you will see there are STEN scores for girls separately, boys separately, women, men, different categories, and the sample size, which is denoted as N, is definitely more than 1000. Okay, so there is a formula that helps you to arrive at a figure that is needed to generalize your result or make your sample representative of the larger population. Okay, or we also have the G power software that calculates the kind of sample size you would require. There are multiple ways in which you could decide on the sample size. One more is, for instance, we are taking a particular standardized tool. Supposing there are 20 items in that tool. We will take the example of perceived stress scale developed by Cohen. The original scale has around 14 items. So 14 into 10, you need to administer the questionnaire to 140 people minimum to study the stress levels. Okay, so that is one school of thought. Another school of thought says number of items in a questionnaire into 5. Those many people are sufficient. They are good sample size for your research. So you see, there are many ways, and of course, if the population is infinite, there is a different formula that will help you arrive at the figure that is needed or that is mandatory to carry out your research. So research, while carrying out research, one major thing that is required is to provide a justification as to why you have done that. Okay, so we are saying adolescence is our sample. There are different types of sampling methods, right? What are they? Simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, area sampling, cluster sampling, okay, snowball sampling, or purposive sampling, right? So these are different types of sampling methods that will help you give a justification as to why you chose only those people. Okay, again, I go back to this example of breast cancer patients. So working and non-working. So will you segregate your sample on the basis of whether they are working or non-working, or you will not touch upon the working aspect at all? But you will see that if you make a comparison between the working and the non-working breast cancer patients, you might get some significant findings. Why? Employed would see the condition as different, unemployed would see the condition as different. Or rather, I would say working and non-working. The non-working woman has ample time to take rest and get back to normalcy, whereas the working woman probably does not have as much time at her disposal. Okay, while on work, I think how long can the company or the organization consider the person's absence at work on humanitarian grounds and continue to give the payment or the salary to the employee? So even the organizations have their HR rules and all, right? So yeah, there are lot many things that will go on into the process of getting people into the sample. So you could conveniently say the person should have been diagnosed at least for 1 year. Only those will be recruited into the study. Okay, so these are certain criteria which may also decide or have an impact on the number of people you're going to recruit for your research. So research uses everyday skills and it gets into your dreams because you're so reading about the same thing again and again, research done by multiple people. It is there in your thoughts, right? And it can lead you in unexpected directions. Sometimes some results can be so tricky that you get intrigued by the result that you bumped into, and your research will take a totally different direction than you have planned for. So even a brief review of writings on research will uncover a lengthy and potentially baffling list of types of research. So you have pure research, applied research, and strategic research. There is descriptive, explanatory, and evaluation research. There is market research and academic research, exploratory, testing out, and problem-solving research. There is covert, adversarial, and collaborative research. There is basic, applied, instrumental, participatory, and action research. So, what are the basic characteristics that all these different kinds of research share? They are planned. We need to be cautious while carrying out our study. They are systematic and reliable ways of finding out or deepening our understanding. So that is what they help us in. So to sum up, research is a process of inquiry and investigation. It is systematic, methodical, and ethical. Why ethical plays a very, very major role? Ethics is what? To do things right. Okay, so when we are recruiting people into our research as a sample, we need to take their consent. Informed consent is very essential. There are standard formats of these informed consent forms, which we will give out to our sample, ask them to sign, and one statement in the format itself says the sample is free to quit from participating in the research at any juncture if he or she feels it is hurting their self-image or anything. Okay, so apart from this, there are many other things that are outlined in research ethics. So research is helping us solve a lot of practical problems, and we are only adding to our knowledge base. Okay, so what is the purpose of research? It is to review or synthesize existing knowledge, investigate existing situations or problems, provide solutions to problems, explore and analyze all kinds of issues, not just general but even specific issues, come up with new procedures or systems, explain new phenomenon. One thing that is now up and coming is psycho-oncology is one area, cyber psychology is another area. So there is a concept called cyber loafing. Have you heard of cyber loafing? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
So what exactly is cyber loafing? We are mostly in front of our systems, right? And we are expected to carry out work. So while working, we just don't work 24/7. All we do is just click another tab and go to Facebook, scroll down, go to Instagram, scroll down, go to Mintra, go to Nika, go to YouTube, right? So in your work time, instead of working, you are going around multiple websites. Okay, so this is called cyber loafing. And another concept called phubbing. What is phubbing? Phubbing. Phubbing is just going through, I mean, whether all of you are sitting and each one is deeply, their heads are deeply buried into their mobile phones. Okay, so we must have seen quite a number of memes that were shared on WhatsApp, right? So all the people are in the family are sitting in the same place, but they are engaged with their own devices. So that is called phubbing. So how did people come up with these topics that we haven't heard of earlier? Cyber loafing, phubbing, and many such new words will be getting added on into our repertoire of knowledge, right? So research helps us do all of these and many more. So what are the qualities of good research? Good research has to be systematic. Systematic in the sense it has to be structured. There are a set of rules that need to be followed, certain steps that are that go in a specific sequence, right? And sometimes systematic research also calls for creative thinking and inductive or deductive reasoning. Okay, and then good research is empirical. What is empiricism? Any conclusion that we are drawing is based on evidence. Evidence that is gathered from information that is collected from real life experiences and observations. Absolutely no hearsay. Okay, so when this is there, our results are going to be scientific. Then, good research is valid and verifiable. So, there is precise observation and accurate description, and the researcher selects reliable and valid instruments to be used in the process of data collection. And once the data is gathered, he will make use of certain statistical measures to arrive at the final results. So you are concluding only on the basis of the findings at the end of your research, and this is going to be correct, and you are going to verify the same. And if someone else, and your results should be so that they are open for others also to verify. Okay, and then good research is logical. So research is guided by the rules of reasoning and logical process. Now this logical process is nothing but inductive reasoning or deductive reasoning. Inductive is general to specific, and deductive reasoning is from specific to general. So this plays a very, very major role in carrying out a particular research. So this kind of reasoning makes research very feasible and meaningful, right? And then we need to do research to develop theories and principles. There are already some theories that are established. If we are not doing that, we are testing those theories. Otherwise, our data will help, or our research will help in establishing new theories. Okay, so research is replicable. You have conducted some research, You have expressed certain shortfalls in your research. So those shortfalls become the gap for the other person to pick up and search again on the work that you have already done. So if at all you want to do any kind of a research, it is essential that you search for that kind of a research gap and then carry out the research. Otherwise, there is no use in reinventing the same wheel again and again. What new are you going to the already existing body of research is what matters the most. Okay, so now we will just take a look at the different types of research that are available for us to understand. So if you look at this slide, you will understand that there are three major perspectives. One, application; two, objectives wise; and three, inquiry mode. Application wise, pure research and applied research. Objective wise, you have descriptive research and exploratory research, correlational research and explanatory research, 4 types. And in inquiry mode, we have quantitative research and qualitative research. So what is pure research? It advanced understanding about the social world and helps in supporting and rejecting existing theories and hypotheses. Then we have applied research. So this aims at establishing policy programs that will help to improve social life, right? So you have something, some theory already established. You go apply it on a particular group, right? Example is action research. For instance, community psychology is a field where it studies various communities. For example, let us take the old age homes. They are the specific community. Okay. Nowadays, we have two different types of old age homes. One they are calling retirement homes, and the other they are still called old age homes. Old people are voluntarily going to retirement homes, and old people are forcibly sent to old age homes. Okay, so there is a lot of difference between the quality of life of these two groups of people, right? So where can we contribute greatly? In the retirement segment or in the old age home segment? A lot can be done in the old age home segment. We will research what is lacking there, and then action research does not just stop at inquiring them, finding out what is causing them happiness, what is causing them sadness or anxiety or stress, and then take measures to alleviate their negative aspects. That becomes action research. Now, who all need to take these, who all need to act? Is it sufficient if I, as a researcher, just act? Will I be able to change the stories of those old people who are in old age homes? Definitely not. It has to be done at a community level. So people, like-minded people should come together and then understand the results of the research, and then basing on the recommendations, implement those points. That becomes complete action research. So then we have social impact studies and evaluation research. Next is descriptive research. So descriptives majorly are about the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, highest, lowest. Okay, all these aspects you can understand. And there is also an option called cross tabs in SPSS software. What is cross tabs? For instance, we are saying there are diabetes patients, 100 diabetes patients. Okay, so out of 100, how many are male, how many are female? Out of 100, how many are belonging to urban areas, how many are belonging to rural areas? Say 50-50. Then out of 50 men, we said 50 men and 50 women are there. So out of these 50 men, how many of the 50 men are in urban areas and how many of them are in rural areas? Okay, so crosstabs feature will help us get there. Okay, so all this is descriptive research. What is the average age of the sample that you have taken? What is the average stress levels that the entire sample is experiencing? So that is descriptive research. Then we have exploratory research. What is exploratory research? The research that came out during pandemic time could be termed as exploratory research. There were no previous studies existing on the pandemic. Okay, 100 years back when the what was that flu? Spanish flu had come, but this is called coronavirus. So coronavirus occurred for the first time, surfaced for the first time. So all the research that was done on coronavirus can be termed as exploratory research. So they will look for patterns of behavior of the virus, how their mental health condition went during the pandemic time. All these things were tested and they formed the basis for further research. Okay, so during this time, researchers used case study method, observation and reviews of previous studies and the data, right? Then we have correlational research. So the researcher measures two variables. For instance, he measures two variables and understands and assesses the statistical relationship between them with no influence from any extraneous variables. So social support and quality of life. What do you think will be the correlation between the two? Will it be high or low?
Hi, madam, in my sense.
Yes, it will be high. So what will you talk about it in terms of correlation? The outcome will be there seemed to be a positive correlation between social support and quality of life perceived. So as the social support increased, the quality of life perceived also got better. So what is this? There is a positive correlation that the sample showed, and if it is significant, the value needs to be higher than wait a minute, 0.05 level and 0.01 level. Okay, this is quant. This you will come across in your statistics paper. What is 0.05 level? That means out of 100 times, 95 times it occurs. Okay, then it is considered to be very significant. So when you are running the SPSS, when you are running your results, you will have to look at the two-tail significance value. If it is higher than 0.05, the results are not significant, and if they are lower than 0.05, they are significant. But if it is lower than 0.01, it is considered as highly significant. And we also have 0.001 level of significance also, right? So a correlation, how strong a correlation is, right? These 0.05 levels and 0.01 levels explain to us the direction of the correlation or significant level of the correlation. But correlation coefficient is a value that we get. The correlation spans between -1 to +1. Okay, all these you will again study in statistical methods. Okay, yeah, that is about correlation research. Then we have explanatory research. I'll just share it again. Right, so what is this explanatory research? You are trying to connect different ideas and understand the different reasons, causes and their effects. Then we have analytical research. Why? How? Okay, so what is the result of, what is the cause of industrial action? Now people are climate change is another major topic nowadays that is doing rounds. climate change also has an effect on the mental health of people. We may not realize it immediately, but yeah, it is found to have a lot of effect on the fishermen community. Then lot many effects climate change has. So how and what kind of effects it has can be understood through analytical research. Then we have predictive research. This is like future possibilities based on close analysis of available evidence of cause and effect. This is one example that we could give for predictive research is data science. How they predict the pattern for the future, our stock markets. Okay, the research they carry out is there are specific terms in the stock market. No, not projections. I'm not getting it right now. Futures and options and all these, they show the projection. Okay, so data science is something of this kind of a research, right? So here we now move on to understanding research approaches. Are you all able to understand, or do you want a short break? We can, I will not break for 15 minutes, but I can just interact with you all. I'll just take a small break now, right? And dumping too much of information also can get very, very taxing for you. So just a 2-minute break, and we can move on to research approaches. So,
Okay, ma'am.
anybody wants to share anything about their understanding so far? Any doubts you have?
Madam, this is Gautam here, madam.
Yes, Chepan sir.
Madam, all these are mandated. Madam. For example, if I am a researcher, all these research is mandate, or they can choose from any one, like correlation research or analytical research.
Yes.
Explanatory.
You can choose, but you need to have a rationale behind why you have chosen that particular thing.
Okay, understood. It's not mandate that every researcher has to submit his research paper in all these forms, right?
Not all, only one is possible.
Yeah, depending on the research.
Yeah.
What
So
yes.
when we are talking about doing research, now mostly we talk in terms of doing a quantitative research or a qualitative research.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, and qualitative is more like interviewing. It is more like participant observation. It is
Sampling.
no, sampling is there for both the approaches.
Okay.
What is sampling? You are deciding who is going to be your subject, who is
Okay.
going to take part in your research. So
Okay.
you need sampling in both kinds of research.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
will have inclusive and exclusive criteria, inclusion and exclusion criteria in both kinds of research. Only major difference between the two is in quantitative research, you need to have a larger sample size to generalize your results. Whereas there is no hard and fast rule that you have to generalize your results in qualitative research.
Understood.
So how long will you be interviewing people? There needs to be an end, right?
Correct.
So you will carry on questioning people till you hit a saturation point. Now, what is this saturation point? Say person A says something, you hear the same from person B, you hear the same from person C, you hear something different from D,
Okay.
you hear something different from E. So you have to go on to a point till where you hear the same from all people.
Okay.
That is your saturation point. And you will hit saturation very fast. Very fast. So you interact with 8 to 10 people, and probably the 8th person onwards will start giving you the same results, same responses. So you can just stop after interviewing 10 people.
Yeah. Based on his age or based on his economic condition, same kind of answers I might get.
Yes. So again, age and economic conditions. So if you feel a person belonging to lower socio-economic status responded in this way, then you would get a different response from higher socioeconomic status. So you should plan your data collection in such a way that you are catering equally to different classifications.
Understood.
Someone else raised a hand. Yeah.
Hi, madam.
Hi.
Madam, regarding the not assigning or picking the topic on which we should do the project or the sampling, can we, I mean, if we are looking for organization related specialization, can we do on the organization and for the employees as well?
Definitely. So what is one beaten topic in organizations is stress.
Stress. Okay.
Stress and burnout. Okay. And different segments you can take, different sectors you can take, you can make a comparison. But please don't go ahead with these topics because these are very beaten topics. Lot of research has been done and there is oversaturation also. Saturation itself means you have hit the roof. What I'm trying to say is stress and burnout in the software industry.
Yes. Okay.
Stress and burnout, you make a comparative study between the public sector employees and the private sector employees.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then there is a concept called organization citizenship behavior.
Yes, yes. This is something what we see in the, I mean, organizations where employees will stay for longer.
It is not about staying longer. It is about giving your 100% to the organization without expecting any monetary benefit in return.
Yeah.
For doing a task that is out of your purview, out of your realm of jobs.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Actually, okay, ma'am. I think this is a very interesting thing, which
Right.
is which. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. So we will now go back to our research approaches. So here I think you will see most of what we have already spoken, the quantitative research and qualitative research, pure or applied research, inductive or deductive research. So these are the basic classifications, not classifications, the demarcations between the two. In quantitative research, you are collecting and analyzing numerical data. So you are quantifying the variables. You are seeing the range, you are seeing the frequency, you are seeing the percentage, right? So this is harder initially to design. Why? Again, for psychological research, we need to have, if we do not have a standardized tool, it is mandatory that we carry out a pilot research. And in pilot research, if we find out that we are going in the right direction, then we will go ahead with a larger sample size. Okay. So, but if we are having a standardized tool with us, we can go ahead, identify our group and then gather the data. So here you see qualitative research is more subjective in nature than quantitative research and involves examining and reflecting on the less tangible aspects of a research subject. So here you're talking about values. Can we quantify values? Can we quantify attitudes? Can we quantify perceptions? We have value inventories. We have inventories that measure such vague aspects, but qualitative research pitches in there where quantitative cannot come in. Okay, you get your numbers, but you still feel what is ground reality is totally different from the numbers that are that you have arrived at. At that stage, qualitative can help you. So that is what they are saying. Only quantitative research or only qualitative research does not give you a definite direction. A mixed method approach will definitely be able to fill in the gap that quantitative has created or qualitative has created. So if your research is something like a mixed methods approach, it is found to have a lot of value to whatever you want to contribute in terms of research to the already existing body of knowledge. So the basic research is pure or applied, pure research or basic research is to improve knowledge generally without any particular applied purpose. And applied research is designed from the start to apply its findings to a particular situation. Like I was telling you, the old age home example, action research is the term we use for that. In quantitative research, what we do, we generally report the results and just keep quiet. What is the use of findings that are there like that? So those findings, you convert them into action. The researcher will convert them into action and bring about a change in the lifestyle of those people. Okay, so now I teach a paper called community psychology, and we have identified a couple of such communities, and we thought we will go ahead interacting with them. And transgenders was one community that one of the students was interested in. So we were all very excited. Okay, we thought, how can we get access to these people? I stay in Visakhapatnam, so the crossroads, the RTC complex is one place where we could find them, but interacting with them is not easy, right? We wanted the atmosphere to be secure. We have to take all these things into consideration when we are carrying out research. I cannot be sending students who are very young in age to a vulnerable group like that. Okay, so eventually we heard that they are a vulnerable group, so they will not open up easily. So the person who was intermediary between us and the transgenders said, what all questions you want to ask, you please write on a paper and give it to me. I will ask them, record their responses and send it to you. Okay, so their livelihood is, their lives are really pathetic, some of their lives. Okay, so what can be done to these people? Now, can a small research like this, as researchers we come across a few things, can we bring about any change in them? Definitely not, right? So all research ends up in academic journals, but research should not end up there. It has to take action so that it changes the lifestyle, it changes the livelihoods of people, right? Then deductive and inductive reasoning, inductive research, general ideas to particular situation, and particular situation to general ideas is inductive. Again, I can give you an example of another topic which is deductive. For example, role of artificial intelligence in the children who are identified as having complex communication needs. Okay, so artificial intelligence is such a generic term now. Artificial intelligence is there in AACs. What are these AACs? Augmentative and alternative communications. Okay, what are they called? They are called assistive technologies. Okay, one of my scholars is doing a research on role of AI and AAC on the quality of life of the caregivers of children with CCNs. Okay, so from where did we arrive? And it is a case study of an app called Avaz. Okay, so from where did we come? We picked up a generic idea of artificial intelligence in that AAC, artificial intelligence, assistive technologies, and under assistive technologies, we picked up the AACs, which are the augmentative and alternative communications. And under that, we picked up a specific app called Avaz. So how has the introduction of the app Avaz changed the quality of life of the caregiver? What does this app do? So these children have complex communication needs. They are not, it's a neurodevelopmental disorder where they are not able to communicate like how we regular people do. So the app has brought about a lot of ease of operation for the child because of the AI. The child is able to communicate quickly to the parents, and because of this there is better social interaction. Okay, so this is the positive. What is the negative? Some find it expensive. Not all parents can afford these tools. Okay, and some also fear that there might be heavy dependency on such apps, so the child may not really make use of his own mind. Okay, so I mean, pick up a generic topic and then come down to a specific one. Inductive is from specific. You take avas. It can be both. You take avas, and from then you can generalize, saying the assistive, the augmentative and alternative communication devices are found to be extremely beneficial for children who are suffering, who are diagnosed with disabilities. Okay, so this is an example for that. And then we have various kinds of research philosophies, positivistic and phenomenological. All our quantitative research falls under positivistic, and all our qualitative falls under phenomenological. Okay, so here you can see positivistic approach is quantitative in nature and objective in nature, and is scientific and experimentalist, and this is traditionalist. The phenomenological is more qualitative in nature. The researcher puts in his own subjective opinions, takes into consideration the human aspect of the problem that you are trying to study. The human aspect is missing in the quantitative study because you are trying to interpret everything with the help of numbers, and then the phenomenological is interpretative in nature. You interpret what the person has said or what you have observed in the real life setting, that is the ethnographic study, and then you arrive at an understanding. So these are the two major philosophies, research philosophies, that we have, positivistic and phenomenological. So research philosophy can impact our methodology adopted for the research project, right? So what is methodology? It refers to the overall approaches that we take, the perspectives to the entire research process as a whole, and it answers the following issues: why you collected certain data, what kind of data you collected, from where you collected, how you collected, and how you analyzed your data. Earlier, all data was collected and analyzed manually, but thanks to the software that we have now, SPSS, earlier they used to use Excel, Microsoft Excel, but now we have SPSS helping us do a lot more analysis than Excel is capable of. And now SPSS also has become PAS. We now have MOS, then we have R Studio, then we have something called structural equation modeling, which can be done in SPSS MOS. Okay, now what all analysis can we do in quantitative? You can do correlations, you can do t-test, you can do f-test, you can do regression, right? So something, and you can do mediation and moderation. But confirmatory analysis, participatory analysis, CFA and PFA, confirmatory factor analysis, participatory factor analysis, and structural equation modeling, all these can be done with the help of SPSS MOS. SPSS and SPSS MOS are two different software. Okay, and in addition to these, I mentioned R and R Studio. In addition to that, we have Smart PLS, we have Jamovi. Then this is, I mean, there are lots more. And in qualitative, we have NVivo, which helps us to arrive at themes. So qualitative analysis, how do we do the analysis? We do thematic analysis or content analysis. So when the interview is recorded, we then make a transcript of the entire recording verbatim. And then we go through the entire transcript. We try to identify themes, and we try to code the transcript. Okay. So then we have the research method, which refers only to the various specific tools or ways of data that can be collected and analyzed. So we use a survey method, questionnaire. Again, in psychology, we make use of questionnaires. Especially in market research and all, they stick to the survey method. Okay. And then we have interview checklist and the data analysis software. So what are the various characteristics of the positivistic and phenomenological approaches? We'll just see. So the positivistic approach says that the study of human behavior should be conducted in the same way as studies conducted in the natural sciences. So that is why we are saying that this is a scientific approach. What does phenomenological say? They are particularly concerned with understanding behavior from the participants' own subjective frames of reference. So there are certain lacunae perceived in quantitative research, and qualitative research tries to bridge those gaps. So here you see, under the positivistic approach, you have the surveys, the experimental studies, the cross-sectional studies, and the longitudinal studies. I think earlier I spoke about cross-sectional and longitudinal. I did not mention about the sequential. Sequential is a method where you implement both these techniques. You are looking at it from a cross-sectional perspective as well as from a longitudinal perspective. Then we come on to the phenomenological side, where case studies is one method, action research is one method, ethnography is one method, feminist perspectives, and then grounded theory. So what are these surveys? You can have two main types of survey, descriptive survey and analytical survey. A descriptive survey will identify and count the frequency of a particular response. Analytical survey will analyze the relationship between different elements in a sample group. So we have descriptive statistics and inferential statistics in quantitative analysis. So the t-test, f-test, correlation, everything falls under inferential statistics, and our mean, median, mode, frequencies, percentages, highest, lowest frequencies, yeah, all these come under the descriptive statistics. Experimental studies, here you need to be careful of controlling the influence of extraneous variables. Okay, for instance, I want to study the impact of music on productivity. Okay, so I should take care that the employees who are taking the experiment, who are a part of the experiment, are not disturbed by any other variables. So these other variables are called the extraneous variables, right? And experimental studies also need to take into consideration that the group which they are being compared to are also on the same line on the aspects that are being considered for the research. Okay. Longitudinal studies we have discussed, cross-sectional studies we have discussed, case studies. Now, what are these case studies? So it offers us an opportunity to study a particular subject. We study one organization in depth, or we study an individual in depth, or we study a group of people in depth. And it involves gathering and analyzing information that may be both qualitative and quantitative. So we can make use of case studies to formulate theories. They could be descriptive, they could be illustrative, they could be experimental, and they could be explanatory. Action research also we have discussed adequately. Ethnography is participant observation. So what is this participant observation? The researcher becomes a working member of the group or the situation to be observed. So these research, for instance, they want to study a particular community or a particular tribe. Let's say they want to study Dimsa. I think you all know what Dimsa is. It's a tribal dance where these people are staying in Arku. Okay, so what does the researcher do? He goes and lives along with the tribe that practices the dance form Dimsa. So they spend around 3 to 6 months along with them, become one amongst them, if possible, learn the dance along with them, so that they understand the livelihoods, they understand the living conditions of these tribes. Okay, so participant observation can be overt. Everyone may know that it is happening, or it could be covert. You could keep it under wraps. Okay, so this is ethnography. Participant inquiry, where it's about research within one's own group or organization and involves the active involvement and cooperation of people who you would normally work and associate with on a daily basis. So the whole group may be involved in the research, and the emphasis is on sharing, agreeing, cooperating, and making the research process an open and an equal one as possible. Right? So then we have the feminist perspectives. So this focuses on knowledge grounded in female experiences and is of benefit to everyone, but particularly women. Now, why should there be something like a feminist perspective? For those of you who have finished studying the other courses in psychology, you will understand that there are very few experiments where women were an active part of. All that we are studying as landmark experiments in the field of psychology have not recruited many women, right? So only the male perspective has been tapped and the female perspective has been untapped, right? So there are, for instance, I have worked on exclusively on diabetic women. Why have I worked only on diabetic women? Or rather, it's my scholar who worked exclusively on diabetic women. Why only diabetic women? We have a collectivist society, right? And then our society is also patriarchal in nature, where the male member is considered as the head of the family. So any ailment or any chronic illness that he is identified with, the wife takes the onus on her own self and ensures that the dietary habits of the husband are reformed to an extent that he is able to maintain good diabetic levels. Okay, and women in our homes, they put themselves at the end of the list. They first take care of everyone and then they think about themselves, right? So you see, it is for this reason that the feminist perspectives came to the fore. We can definitely find that there are many things that are different from the male perspective and the female perspective. Then we have grounded theory. So first, data is collected in order to test the validity of a theoretical proposition in favor of an approach, and that emphasizes the generation of theory from data. So you gather all information, and through the analysis of your data, you will be able to come up with a theory. So theory is generated from the observations that are made rather than decided before the study. Okay. So the aim of grounded theory is to approach research with no preconceived ideas about what might be discovered or learned. So we will develop categories which derive from the data, and attempting then to give as many examples as possible in the categories developed in order to demonstrate their importance. And these categories can be then grouped into more general categories or broader analytical frameworks, and those analytical frameworks will then become the theories. Okay, so this is about methodology. You want to go through the examples, you want to do the exercises, or You don't want to. You want me to move forward.
We can do the exercises, ma'am. We will do the exercises, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is 3:30. So we will just take a small break here. We will come back at 3:45. 3:45 to 5, I will just finish the rest of the class. Yeah, Sunita P. Someone has raised a hand. Any queries? Any questions you want? Any questions need to be clarified? Is it clear so far?
4:45 will take questions, last 15 minutes.
Okay. So I'll just take a water break and come back.
Yeah, 15 minutes break you can take, and again 3:45 will start.
3:45, I will come back. Right.
The link is the same, and we are not closing, it's in live.
Is everyone back?
Yes, ma'am.
So, yes, we will now start off with understanding the research process. So, look at this. What do we want to research upon? Can we just discuss a few topics that are research worthy? Any one of you has, I mean, I'm looking at least 5 titles of research. Something that you want to research upon after having heard the previous hour lecture. Any area you feel that, yeah, this area,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
So I practice as a journalist, as an independent journalist, and I'll be curious to understand what are the kinds of mental trauma or psychological effects that journalists particularly go through. Um, like what are the higher precedences of issues that they go through, and they're mostly undiagnosed because they do not have the kind of time to spend on.
So, which approach would you go ahead with?
So I'll go with the cross section. Do you think?
Cross section is fine. I'm talking about the approach, design. Cross section and longitudinal are designs. Okay.
Right.
Approach. I'm asking you about the qualitative or the quantitative approach.
Yes. So I'll probably go with quantitative first for the data, and then try to build on it with anecdotes, like perceptions and experiences.
Okay. So, yeah, ideally, a mixed methods approach is what you are saying.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Do you think people will be very upfront, come and tell you, this is what's happening with me?
For journalists, they usually do not get the opportunity to, as I have understood. There are a few NGOs and few organizations that are now trying to um, survey and collect some data about what is happening, what is the condition of mental health among journalists. So I'll
Okay.
get some data, but in order
So,
to, yeah,
because you mentioned mental health, I can give an example here. We have a tool called DAS, okay,
hmm,
depression, anxiety, and stress scale. So
yes,
you can administer the scale and get the data, and then there are scores. There is the manual through which you can go through and understand how many of them are experiencing low, medium, or high category of depression, anxiety, or stress. Okay,
right,
so
yes,
given those results in hand, you can then go interact with those people
hmm,
who you have seen as scoring high on these segments. Okay,
right, right.
but before that, they should be willing to reveal their identity.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
and when we are talking about ethics, right? Confidentiality is one major thing that we will assure them. At no point
Mhm.
in time will their data be shared with anybody else.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
so we have
Yes.
to ensure that these are all things are in place. Okay,
Right.
anybody
Absolutely. Yes.
else wants to contribute to the discussion? Prabha, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. This is
Yeah.
Prabhavati Kalshetty. Ma'am, I would like to go with a study for college students,
Hmm.
where nowadays we can see the listening skills of the college students have completely come down, and the
Okay.
behavior has completely changed. If we compare from our generation, it has completely the way they behave. Or one thing is in terms of attentiveness in the class,
Hmm.
uh, even as I told, the listening skills, and there are also few things that I would like to consider. So this is what I would like to understand, why there is a complete change. And
Why there is the question why you cannot find an answer for the question why in quantitative research. Okay.
so it should be, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Qualitative.
Qualitative.
Yeah,
Qualitative, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so let's move ahead so that I can finish what I have planned to finish. And then the last few minutes we will leave for interaction. Right, so this is the research process. You will identify a question, a research question. Then you will see what kind of research is carried out in that area. Okay, so that is called literature review or review of literature. After that comes the segment significance of the study, or what is the rationale behind the study? Why do you want to study? What is the need to conduct this study? Okay, and after that comes the methodology part. And then once the methodology is clear, we go out into the field for data collection. Once the data is collected, it is cleaned and then sent for analysis. And then we arrive at the results, then the findings are interpreted. So these two approaches, the right and the left, the quantitative research is all about numbers, numbers and numbers, and qualitative research is all about words, words and words. So here again we continue with that. One is logical positivism, the other one is constructivism. And in quantitative, we are trying to establish relationships and explain causes of changes in measured variables. So that is explained through regression. And concern is with under qualitative, the research purpose is the concern is with the understanding of the social phenomena from the participants' perspectives, right? And what are the methods and processes? The scientific method, also known as a priori. A priori is something that is already existing. Okay, a theory is already existing. But in qualitative, depending on the data that you have gathered, you can come up with a theory. Okay. So, yeah, this is what we have already discussed, and the same thing has come up, right? So these are the various quantitative studies. And yeah, what is primary data and what is secondary data? I go and give out the questionnaires to people, sit with them, make them answer the questions and gather all the information. So that is primary data. Thanks to the pandemic, we have shifted from physical copies of the questionnaires to Google Forms. People are now typing all the questions in the questionnaire on the Google form, and then they are just sharing the link, requesting others. They're posting this link in groups where their target groups are, and then requesting them to please open the link and fill the Google form, right? So that is primary data. And then what is secondary data? Something like the census that we have, that is secondary data. We make use of already existing data. For instance, we have review of literature that is done in many ways. Yeah, this is one. Research using secondary data. So there is systematic review, there is meta-analysis. So what do you do in systematic review? You identify certain platforms. Say, for instance, there is Google Scholar, there is PubMed, there is PsycInfo, there is JSTOR. So you go to all these four platforms. You will search for research that has been carried out in the area of your topic that you have picked, and then arrive at the findings of those studies, compile everything, make a comparison, and see if there is any trend from the results that all these papers have put up. And then you can arrive at a conclusion saying there has been, like I was talking to you all about the augmentative and alternative communication for children with special needs, right? So when you compare to previous times, currently the kind of facilities that are available for any learning disabled child or a child with disability are far more superior than what we used to have earlier, right? So your literature review will give you the status that was existing during that time to the current status that is existing, right? So you will be able to arrive at a conclusion saying the interaction of these children, the social interaction in these children has become better with the advent of assistive technology and artificial intelligence. So however, did you directly go to these people and ask them any data? No. How did you arrive at this conclusion then? You have done a thorough literature review. There is a difference between literature review and systematic review. In systematic review, we have something called the Prisma format. Okay, so you will touch base with various databases. You will put in your keywords. Then you will see that you have gotten as many as 1,000 odd studies in the area. Out of that, you will filter, and eventually you will arrive at only 20 to 30 studies that are very, very relevant to what you are looking at. And then you will go through very, very closely into all these 20 to 30 articles and make note of various aspects. Okay, and then arrive at a conclusion. Meta-analysis is more quantitative in nature again, and analysis of existing data collected for another purpose. So secondary data is like we want to talk about the pandemic. So we really can't go and meet these people who are identified as COVID patients. So we rely on secondary data. Okay. So what is literature review? You gather articles on a topic of interest and you summarize the findings from each research article. Systematic review is like you perform a predefined search strategy, and in this, unpublished studies also can be included. We develop a priori objective criteria to evaluate the quality of the studies and summarize the quality of the data and the results. Meta-analysis is more summarizing the data quantitatively. Then, how do we use administrative data for research? So here, this is also for secondary data, National Center for Health Statistics. Then we have central data repositories. We can pick data from here and then give our findings. So now this is the research process. If at all we are to conduct some kind of a research, we will identify our research area. We will do a literature review and then probably make changes, a few if needed, on the topic we have chosen, and then come up with research questions and then identify the research design, correlational design or a cross-sectional design or a longitudinal design, a qualitative or a quantitative, depending on the sample size and all. We have the data collection, then analyze the data, and then with the results, we answer our research questions. Okay. So we are trying to establish the problem, conceptualize the variables, and then define our variables. We select our units of study, who needs to take part, and then we collect the data. We will identify the method of investigation of the problem, and then analysis and interpretation. Finally, it ends up in writing the report. So this is the rough research idea. Okay, so why research? Not everybody is interested in research. The moment you mention research, some people run very far, at least some students run very far. But yeah, it is quite interesting, and you can also try to publish the research that you have carried out. So this is a cycle, you see. It is cyclical. See, choosing a topic, thinking about methods, reading for research, collecting data, analyzing your data, and writing up. So at any point, you can enter, you can make changes, you can add more information, you can reconsider your design, and you will return, I mean, all of this will return you to a different starting place. So it could be iterative to a certain point, but not throughout the research. Okay. So yeah, probably these are the last few slides that I have. I'm just trying to explain to you with an example as to the kind of research that Facebook has put in to come up with the 6 emojis that we are seeing right now in Facebook. I know Facebook has become very old now. We have Instagram and Snapchat ruling the roost. But the kind of efforts that have gone into research here in Facebook, similarly, we could find similar practices or even better practices at Snapchat or Instagram also. So initially, it seems there were around 125 emojis, from 125 to 25 to the famous 5, how Facebook's new emojis were born. So what went into the making? Facebook used data from a user-based research project to zero in on 7 reactions, which were further whittled down to 5 after testing. So the Facebook like has become so famous that we have the same symbol everywhere. It's there on WhatsApp now. And talking about research, yeah, we will discuss that once I'm done with this. I'll make a note of it. WhatsApp improvisation. So, yeah, the symbol is synonymous with the brand and has been there since February 2009. So when the social media behemoth launched Facebook Reactions in February 2016, it came as a surprise to one and all. So the introduction of 5 reactions depicting love, anger, wow, laughter, and sadness generated a lot of discussion both online and offline. A year and a half later, these reactions have become ubiquitous. Few would know that it took over a year of research and design engineering for Facebook to come up with these. As popular as it is, the sole like option did not go with a lot of posts. So we reached out to users asking them what they would want to use instead, said Satyajit Singh, who handles product partnerships at Facebook India. He highlighted the importance of user research in building a product or feature. Singh said the first step of building reactions is to reach out to users asking what emotions they wished to use instead of a like. The company's primary research yielded a list of 125 emotions, said Singh, which were shortlisted to 25. The Facebook team then went back to look at data they had collected on short comments of either a few words or an emotion or GIF to assess which emotion users most wanted to express. Our research and data showed users were looking for options which were somewhere between a like and a comment. From this, we zeroed in on 7 reactions, which were further whittled down to 5 after testing, said Singh. The next challenge was localizing reactions across geographies, since the same things can have different meanings across countries and languages. The love reaction, for instance, could be interpreted in several ways. Localizing reactions for all languages was challenging. So we went back to data and found that reactions got more engagement when displayed with labels. He continued. So all reactions were launched with labels like love, haha, wow, angry, and sad, because a symbol can otherwise be interpreted in many ways. While the team was researching and analyzing data, few prototypes were being tested in a few markets on controlled audiences. For testing, people from different countries were selected. The countries were chosen keeping in mind the social characteristics vis-a-vis expressiveness and contentedness of its population, as also types of devices citizens use in that part of the world. In the testing phase, there were 2 more emojis, a yay and a wow, which were tested in certain countries on a certain user base. They were finally dropped to avoid decision fatigue for users. Yet another challenge was to design reactions to make them compatible with different software platforms like the Android and the iOS without making the app heavy. Summing up the journey of designing Facebook reactions and elaborating on how to design emotions, Singh said, when designing products, companies must focus on asking open questions and exploring their options as much as possible. So this was taken from an article that came in Times of India. So yeah. Can we just discuss? What I was talking about is, see how much of research has gone behind the emojis that we see, right? As a user, what do? We scroll up and down, and if we like, we just click on one of the emojis, right? But a lot of research has gone behind, and there is one more emoji that is added, that of care, right? So for instance, someone posts a message on losing someone, that someone has passed away, right? So you can't like that button, you can't love that, not the button, you can't like that post, you can't love that post, you are not angry with it. So we have an image, we have an emoticon which says a tear, which has a teardrop, and another emoji which also says care. Okay, so how did they arrive at this? They went out on the field and interacted with active users, right? And so once a platform, Prabha, you raised a hand. Do you want to discuss something?
No, Mama. It was previously raised. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So with that background information, let us just see and discuss how WhatsApp has changed over a period of time. Right? Now you have all the buttons, all the emojis that are there on Facebook are here on WhatsApp as well. And then the latest feature is payment facility, and even more, there are channels. And earlier it was just status. Now you have channels beneath that. And with every periodically, we see that there is some kind of an upgradation happening. Why should they upgrade? They have to stay in the market. They can generate a lot of revenue, right? So how to stay ahead of competition? Like we were talking about predictive research, right? All these things will help us. We can get there with the help of research that we can carry out. Okay. So one last topic I think I still have, as to how you have to carry out research. Yeah. So if at all you have decided to carry out any kind of a research, you need to introduce your variables, okay, and then explain what you're proposing to do, how you plan to proceed, and why you selected the proposed strategy. So like I mentioned earlier, there is a lot of research that is actively going on in all spheres of life. Okay, name the subject and there is research going on. So recently we came across a conference call for abstracts announcement about plant humanities. This conference is being conducted in Nepal. So what is it about plant humanities? We never heard. Okay, and then there is something called blue humanities. So if it is blue humanities, they are talking about the oceans. Okay, so a lot of, how did we arrive at these areas? It is research that has helped us come up with whatever we are having at our disposal right now. So in order to carry out a study, you first need to have an introduction supported by review of literature. And it is in this review of literature that you are going to show the research gap and reinstate that because of this gap that is existing, you intend to take it up and further delve deeper into the topic. And at the end of this research review of literature section, you will also lay down your objectives for your entire research. And then delineate the rationale for carrying that particular research, and then identify the method under the methodology segment. So under the methodology, you could write the objectives under methodology, or it could go into review of literature also. I heard that there is a shift now. People are laying down their objectives and hypothesis immediately after they finish the review of literature. So once those are done, you will define your variables. You will put in the operational definitions of your variables, and then identify the sample size, and the sampling design. And once that is done, you will talk about the tools that you are going to use for your research, and you will also mention the sample size, and you should also mention in what kind of a setting you are carrying out your study, right? And then once you mention the tools, you will go ahead with conducting collecting the data. Once you get the data, you will gather all the information, clean the data. By cleaning the data, I mean everybody will not be very attentive when they are answering our questionnaires. So they might miss out on a few here and there. So what do we do? So depending on the significance on the point they have missed, if they have missed a very great detail, we cannot pitch in for them. So we delete that entire response sheet from our data. Okay. So for instance, when you read through few research papers, you will understand that data was gathered from 425 respondents, but eventually after data cleaning, we had only 389 on hand. Why? Because any such lacunae, you cannot go further, right? So you will just clean the data in terms of take only those responses that are full in all aspects. Okay. So then with the help of the SPSS or any other software that we have discussed, you could run your data and arrive at the results. And the last segment would be to discuss your results and discuss your results, take proofs from the previous research that is already there. And if there is no support of your finding, you can say that this finding will definitely add to the body of knowledge that already exists in the field. And after that, you will summarize, conclude, and also talk about the implications of your findings, and then listing out the delimitations, limitations, and future suggestions for research is also very, very mandatory in your research project. So with this, we come to a close of what I wanted to share. Now, going back to what is listed in your course, what is listed in your syllabus, I'll just quickly run through for 10-15 minutes. Yeah, so it talks about introduction to research methods in psychology, basic process or concept in research. We identify the research problem, we review the literature, we come up with the objectives and formulate the hypothesis. Hypothesis again can be of two types, null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. If at all there has been no literature existing in that area, you cannot fall back on that for any reason. You go in for a null hypothesis. But yeah, we also have the alternative hypothesis, which says there is a significant difference or there is no significant difference. So yeah, we have a directional hypothesis which is positive and negative. So all these things you will come across when you are doing formulating hypothesis, or when you're doing your hypothesis formulation chapter, right? And then we have research design and methodology. It is here where you will design and decide on the qualitative or quantitative method, how you are selecting your participants, what are the ways in which you're going to collect your data, right? All this is there, is the basic process of research. Then we talk about reliability and validity. This is another major topic. What is reliability? It is the consistency and stability of measurement, and a reliable instrument should get us the same results when we use it after a certain point in time, again under similar conditions. So for instance, if I am using a stress scale and I am stressed constantly, I should be able to get the same kind of a result whenever it is administered. Okay. And what is validity? An instrument measures what it purports to measure, right? We have different types of reliability and we have different types of validity. Reliability, you could say test retest reliability is one way. You take the test today and after 6 months you take the test again, you are getting plus or minus 5, the same kind of a result. Then you can say the instrument is reliable. And then we have inter-rater reliability. So there is consistency of results between different evaluators. So different raters also are getting similar kind of results. Then too, we can say that the tool is reliable, and there is internal consistency. For instance, first half of the questionnaire and the next half of the questionnaire. So the items in these in the entire questionnaire are measuring the same concept. Okay, that is called the split half method, the first half and the other half. We also have alternate forms. For instance, Ram killed Sita. The other statement should be, sorry, Ram killed Ravana. The other statement should be Ravana was killed by Rama. So these are the ways in which reliability of the tool is established. Then we talk about different types of validity. We have the content. What is validity? Like I said, there has to be accuracy of measurement of whichever aspect we have taken. For instance, if we are trying to measure intelligence, it should not be measuring personality, right? So we have content validity, we have construct validity, and we have criterion related validity. What is content validity? So the test covers the aspects of the concept that we have picked. For instance, all the questions are related to intelligence only. They are not related to personality, or vice versa. Then we have construct validity. The test truly measures the theoretical construct. And then the criterion related validity, the test should align with the outcomes that are expected based on the measures of the phenomenon, right? So reliability is a prerequisite for validity, but vice versa, it does not hold good, right? So these two components are interdependent and they safeguard the integrity of research. So when we are using reliable measurements, we are going to get consistent results. And then while talking about variables and constructs, like I said, we have independent variables and dependent variables. Independent variables are the factors that the researcher can manipulate to study their effect, and dependent variables are the outcomes or responses that are measured in the study. And we have something called the controlled variables. So these variables are kept constant in the experiment, right? So for instance, if in a study that examines the impact of exercise on weight loss, The amount of exercise would be the independent variable. Weight loss will be the dependent variable. Okay. Then we have the constructs. The constructs are abstract concepts or the theoretical ideas that the researcher is planning to study or measure. So you see that the relationship between constructs and variables is very, very essential. And that forms the basis of our research. And hypothesis formulation, we spoke about the null or the alternative hypothesis. And talking about sampling, we say that there are two major types of sampling, probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So what is it in probability sampling? Every individual in the entire population has a non-zero chance of being selected. That means everybody has a high probability of getting selected. So this is having simple random sampling, stratified sampling, and cluster sampling. Then we have non-probability sampling. So this does not give all members of the population an equal chance to get selected. For instance, I am studying diabetic patients. The very fact that I am studying diabetic patients makes my sampling non-probability sampling, because it is more purposive in nature. I am recruiting only those people who are diagnosed with diabetes. Okay, so yeah, this is under this we have convenience sampling, judgmental sampling, and quota sampling. So different types of research: survey research or questionnaire method. We have the descriptive analysis and the inferential analysis. Then we have ex post facto research. What is ex post facto research? Understanding past events. Supposing I carry out a research now on the COVID pandemic, it fits the bill perfectly because I am trying to understand a past event. Okay, so it is a causal comparative research. So we are trying to study the cause and effect relationships by examining the existing data or conditions that have already occurred. So how was the quality of life of people during the pandemic? Okay. So here unlike the experimental approach where we try to manipulate certain things, ex post facto research, you will go back to naturally occurring variations. Okay, because people were under lockdown, they could not go out freely, they must have missed out on their medication, they must have missed out on their doctor visits. How did it change their locus of control? How did it change their quality of life? Okay, so that is an example of ex post facto research. Experimental research we understood already, and then case study method, we try to understand and go deep into understanding a particular phenomena, either by studying rigorously a particular group, an individual or an organization. And then research design, it's a single factor design, or it is called one-way design. We are examining the effect of a single independent variable, or one or more dependent variables. Then we have factorial design. We are trying to investigate the effects of two or more independent variables on one or more dependent variables, right? And what are quasi-experimental designs? So experimental design, you are randomly assigning people, but in quasi-experimental design, you do not do random assignment of your sample. So in experimental designs, participants are randomly assigned to either the experimental group or control group. But in quasi-experimental design, we rely on naturally occurring groups or conditions, right? So these This design is particularly useful to study something in our real world setting where controlling variables is not possible. Okay. And then correlational design, I think we discussed about correlation design. Comparative design. So you want to understand how you want to understand the quality of life of women in urban area vis-a-vis quality of life of women in rural area, diabetic women, right? So you compare two groups based on certain characteristics and outcomes. So the primary objective of this comparative research is to find out if there are any stark differences between these groups. Like you could also make a comparison on the basis of gender. You can make a comparison on the basis of age. Okay, but whatever classification you are making, you need to have a solid, rock solid justification. Why do you want to study that? For instance, I want to study age. How will I categorize age? You can divide them into 10 years groups, but now you have people diagnosed with diabetes right from 30 years till 80 years. That means you will have 5 groups. No, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 75 groups. So you can make it more representative. You can go according to the generational classification. That is another way you could do that. Okay, or another way in which you could do is take an average of the age group that you have, and you put them under two groups. Above age is one group, and above average is one group, below the average is another group, and you can make a comparison like that. Okay, so yeah, and then we have discussed the various approaches in qualitative research as well. Ethnography is one, grounded theory is another, and discourse analysis. What is discourse analysis? This focuses on studying language use and communication in the social context. So you are analyzing the written language, the spoken language, or the visual text in order to understand how language can help us construct meaning, reflect over power dynamics, and how it shapes our social interactions. Okay, so here you're not looking at the content of the communication, but you are looking at how language functions in different contexts, how language influences us, and how it is influenced by our social, cultural, and political factors. Okay, so we are looking at both structure of language and also the broader implications that it brings along. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty much done. Okay, any doubts you have? Now we can just have a discussion for till a point where we say, okay, we have discussed enough. Any doubts? So I have one curious question. I'm presuming all of you are there behind the cameras. How many of you like to put your video off? You don't want to come in front of the camera. So if we come in, I mean, just imagine the entire lecture has gone, me with my camera off. Would it make any impact, or you wouldn't know who's talking, right?
The focus matters a lot, ma'am. If we don't see you while you're teaching us,
Yes.
I think focus drops down to 50%.
Exactly. That's okay. Each one has their own choice. So, yes, pandemic has taught us to continue with the lecture regardless of whether people switch on their camera or no. Right?
Do you want us to switch on the cameras, ma'am? We thought it would be a disturbance, so we didn't.
No, now at least when we are trying to make it interactive and discuss with one another, I think seeing faces would be reinforcing for me as well. I wouldn't feel as if I'm talking to a screen. I would feel I'm talking to active faces.
Okay.
Yes, that's nice. So, any doubts regarding the lecture? Because what we can do during a 3-hour duration is, yeah, Prabha wants to say something.
No,
Prab-
ma'am.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
previously, but I couldn't take it out. Yeah. Aditya
Okay.
won't. I think Aditya has
Aditya.
raised his hand.
Right. Yeah, Aditya.
Ma'am, I think this class is very nice. Like I think we are all very much interested in research only.
Oh,
I mean,
great.
I work as a mentor for companies, and as a HR I was a HR, and now I am working as a mentor. So I am very curious about using this research platform for understanding the culture of my organization as well the students.
Okay.
So this, like, I think this class helped me and gave me a transparent view about in which direction I'm going.
Right.
Some I have to change, and few I can adopt from your class now.
Okay.
And the research methodologies which we are discussing,
Right.
they were actually we are using in different other spaces, but we don't know that they can be used in this platform as well.
Okay.
Uh, for collecting the data, we use Google Sheets, but now when we are discussing, you also said we can take it as a survey sheet now.
Yeah. Because what happens, I mean, that is a major drawback with the survey method or the questionnaire method. You
Okay.
have a long list of questions. Who
Yes.
has the patience tell me to sit and read through each and every sentence? And what are the
Yes.
options you give? Likert scale. Okay.
Yes.
2 extremes and 2 in between and 1 neutral. So if you
Yes.
look at the pattern of responses, for instance, if someone is in a hurry and they just have to finish it because you've been pestering them, give the response. What they will do, they will either put all ticks in the extreme side or they will just put the neutral.
Yes.
That is a major downside you have in a questionnaire method. And it is here that a mixed method approach would pitch in.
Okay.
You
Okay.
can interview people. Like you do your data collection on the said number of people. At the same time, you conduct your interviews.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
You can see your results here and you can see your results here.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
can bring out the positives from both. And you can
Yes.
also say that what you could not tap through your quant approach was tapped through the quali approach.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, while you are talking about this process, I first
Got
thing
me.
which yes, what it strike to me is like I should know my feedback when I'm giving some mentoring to someone. At least I should know where I'm going wrong. So immediately I made a masked approach sheet, ma'am, for that.
That's good.
While
Because even for us, while teaching, we see that I think Prabha or someone was mentioning the listening skills have gone down. I would say the attention span has reduced for every student, right?
yes, ma'am.
And if the
That's
student is distracted, it is extremely distracting for the faculty.
yes, ma'am. Exactly.
So,
Yes.
and if the size of the class is large, we get irritated, angry, we cannot
Yes.
yell at the student. So, I need to know as to how the student is perceiving my lecture. So,
Yes,
what
ma'am.
I do, please do not write your name on the sheet.
Yes, masked
So,
approach.
I will not know who is writing it, but please pen down your um real opinion so
Yes.
that
Yes.
I can take your suggestions and bring about a change in my approach if needed.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
they are open to write anything. They
Yes,
will criticize also. They will criticize also.
yes, yes. I think we will need the criticisms because we should actually need to
So,
improve.
yeah, the lecture has been great. We have never seen such a lecture, never heard such a lecture like that. Okay, those are all fine. But what catches our interest is you could have made your presentation better. You could have
Yeah.
used better slides. So that is a
Yes.
point for us to make note, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, one small thing like when in this after taking psychology, one interest strike me is like I was working as a HR as a culture manager to an organization earlier, but I can I do project related to culture management of an organization?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
So you could do it in the form of a case study.
okay, ma'am. Okay.
You delve deep into the kind of culture that exists in that organization. You can point out the pluses, you can point
Okay.
out the minuses, and you can make recommendations.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Got
And
it,
how
ma'am.
do you make? It is not out of your own think tank. You will
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
take research support. You will
Okay,
take
ma'am.
support, you will do your review of literature. And you will
Okay, ma'am.
say, so and so has studied this and this has worked well for them.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay?
Right.
Yeah. Everything, even a sentence that you write in your project or your thesis, a paragraph that you write needs to be backed by evidence.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, got it, ma'am. Got
You
it.
might say, I have written all of this. Okay, that
Yes,
is
ma'am.
accepted till a page, but rest of it
Yes,
you will not be able to come up with this bigger volume, right? So from
yes,
where
ma'am.
did you get the information? So you will cite all of that in APA 7th edition referencing style.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, so you can take your research support from Instagram, you can take it from YouTube videos, and you can quote those links. And you
Okay,
can
ma'am.
also mention the precise time at which you have picked your argument.
Okay, ma'am.
So ideally, all of you, if you are interested in research, should download the APA 7th edition of referencing style and learn how to reference your
Okay.
research.
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Anybody else has a question?
Ma'am, my doubt is like it is related to academics. Most of our colleagues will have the same doubt, but ma'am, like now we have some practitioner in the entire curriculum. So in the first semester, which we will have to give, what is can you plus small brief on it, ma'am? Like how we should approach that?
I can give. I think the regional center also will give.
Okay,
This practicum is, you will do around 8 experiments that are listed.
okay, ma'am. Okay,
Okay, you will be exposed to one intelligence test, one
okay,
sociometry test, one Vineland social maturity test, problem behavior checklist. Then, yeah, all these are listed in your handbook.
okay,
So these are practicals that you will do.
okay,
And second year, depending on the core that you choose, either
okay,
clinical psychology, counseling psychology, or organizational psychology, your practicals will differ.
okay, okay. Right, right. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
right. So 3 hours is too less a time, and this is what best we can do for a contact class. Okay, so if you go through your notes, I think IGNOU notes is very, very exhaustive, elaborate. Only thing, you should not do last minute preparation. Ideally, in full-time course, what happens is we have a semester system and we have only 5 units. But now if you look at your material, you have 4 blocks and you have 4 units under each block. So that means you have vast information that you need to study. Earlier, there was this project which was mandatory, and students had to clear paper 5 and 6 in order to be eligible to conduct their research project. But now they are offering an alternative in terms of positive psychology, where you need not carry out a research project. In place of that, you can do another theory, advanced theory course, positive psychology.
Actually, in Vijayawada, we are not offering a project. Only we
Okay.
are offering a second year positive, advanced positive psychology paper only. If anybody wants to take project, they have to take transfer to Hyderabad or nearby RC only. We are not giving, we don't have any guides also.
Probably Dr. Prasad Babu is the right person to give any clarification regarding subjects. Hari Krishna raised a hand. Hari Krishna garu.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm audible, madam?
Yes, yes.
Madam. Regarding the thesis dissertation, I'm asking. So now it is possible to change the center, sir?
Yes, after completion of the first year, you can take the transfer from Vijayawada to some other regional center.
Okay.
Where are you living?
No, not yet decided, sir. You are saying that if you want to take a project, you have to.
Yeah. Even induction meeting itself, we informed all the learners while we conduct the induction meeting at SRR and CVR College. During that time itself, I was informed all the learners, those who have attended the program. Vijayawada Regional Center is offering 2 specializations in second year, counseling psychology and clinical psychology. There is no industrial psychology specialization in Vijayawada because we don't have counselors, number one. Number two, we don't have guides to guide the project for clinical psychology or counseling psychology. So those who want to take the project and they want to do the project work and submit the project, MPC is 16, 26 or 36 in second year. So they can take transfer to nearby RC and they are completing the program. Even this session also in January, one candidate has taken the industrial psychology with project. So we have transferred to him to Hyderabad.
Okay.
So you can take the transfer and complete your program, no problem at all.
After first year only, sir. After first year exams.
After first year, you can take the transfer. If you want first year itself, you can take the transfer also. That is your choice.
No, sir. It is not in the first year, right? The project.
No, some people are anyhow, I'm going to second year in Hyderabad. Why don't you continue in Vijayawada? They are taking transfer in first year itself and continue first year itself. They are at Hyderabad or nearby RC. Some people are staying at Visakhapatnam. They are taking Bhubaneswar. And some people are near to Tirupati or Chittur. Those people are taking Bangalore or Chennai. Like that.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay, sir. Thanks for your information, sir.
Any other queries?
Good evening, sir.
March month, 2nd, 15th onwards, or April, we have not exactly scheduled, but 3 days to 5 days practical sessions will be there in Vijayawada. So we will inform you how many days you have to stay in Vijayawada. So attendance is compulsory. All the practical components, whatever mentioned in your project, practical handbook. So you have to perform 5 practicals and you have to stay in Vijayawada. Whatever date we mention in the schedule, you have to stay in Vijayawada. There is no exemption and exclusion. So once you complete the practical component, attendance and record and everything, then only you are eligible to take the practical examination of the MPC L007.
So this practicals, like we will be taking in Vijayawada Center. After that, there will be an exam, sir.
Yes, examination after theory will conduct the exam at Vijayawada itself. Again, you have to come for the practical examination to Vijayawada.
Okay, sir. For practical last 007.
At 007, you have to come to Vijayawada for practical examination.
Sir, how about the other 3 subjects? When will we have exam for that?
Theory subject, you can write your place itself. Wherever you are staying, if examination center is no examination center is there, you can write theory exam anywhere in India, but practical component you have to come to India.
Okay, sir. Fine, sir.
But
The practicals would be would be probably in which month, sir?
Just now I informed March 2nd week onwards or March 15th to April 15th. In between we'll plan because we have to ask the counselor. Their convenient we can fix the dates.
Thank you, sir.
Availability of the faculty. Okay.
Ma'am, ma'am, this is Gautam here, ma'am. This question is for you. Ma'am, how to check the reliability and validity of the findings for the research, ma'am? Is there any methodology for the...
You should be worried about the reliability and validity of the instrument that you are using. Results, I mean, your research results need not be... See, if you're measuring if you're measuring personality, your result should be about personality.
Correct.
Okay. Similarly, goes with the instrument also.
Okay.
So it's not the outcome that needs to be reliable and valid. It is the instrument that needs to be reliable and valid.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. Because, like I said, I gave you the curd example. One research says don't eat curd at night. Another
Correct.
research says
That's
consuming curd in the night is good for health. So research is all about getting adequate proof and justifications that will support your findings.
Okay.
And also 2 days back we have sent one email. All the video recordings, YouTube links also we have sent to you all. Whether you have seen? Anybody seen?
Yes, sir. We have received it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We previously conducted session. YouTube links also we forwarded to you all. Whenever you free, you can go through those videos and you can get clarifications, those videos. Even after, if you have any doubts, you can write down your doubts. And whenever the class is going on, last half an hour, we give the anyhow question and answer session. During that time, you can ask your queries and take your clarifications. Okay, right then.
Right,
No
sir.
more queries. We will conclude this session.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, it's very
Thank you,
useful to have your
Thank
session.
Okay, thank you. Gopal garu.
Yes, sir.
Recording close చేసాం. Okay, thank you.